Otter Creek is under siege. Otter Creek, Florida. No, it's not guns or anything like that. It is a fact that a handful of people are dictating or trying to dictate to others what to do. Isn't it a shame when this happens? Yes, it happens in other towns. Otter Creek is not an exception. There's more than one people or one situation where there is people, usually just a handful, and a lot of times in smaller towns, that will do this. The good thing about Otter Creek and it happening to them, and I don't wish them any ill will, and I feel sorry for what is happening. These are my opinions. They're nobody else's opinions, and it's just going off what other people has put on the YouTube. Okay, you can't believe everything people say, but in this case, it's probably pretty accurate coming from certain people. Remember, though, if you want to know the truth and more about what's going on, look up the people around Otter Creek and listen to what they have to say and what they are going through. Thanks to people like Jeremy. Now, Jeremy has got enough money to fight. He might not be the richest person in the world, but the money's there for him to fight and to get some of these cases that are going on with him not thrown out, but taken out of Levy County to another county. That is a plus. That is a start. One of the people involved with that handful of people is under ethics investigation, and hopefully he don't try somehow in the next few weeks to get back on the city council there in Otter Creek. That would be bad. Now, I've never been to Otter Creek, guys, so don't get me wrong. I know nothing about the people there, but I tell you what, when you see them people, even though some of them were out of state, but when you see them people from Otter Creek showing up to a council meeting and seeing just other videos of people in Otter Creek, you know they're a hell of a bunch of good people there, and they don't deserve what's going on right now. Greed has taken over. Unfortunately, like I say, it's just a handful of people, but that's all it takes. And ironically enough, them that's hollering the loudest about illegal activities is the ones that's been pointed out doing illegal activities. When you have this happening, and I realize some of it is, and I'm from a small area, okay, so like I said, and it's been a long time since I lived there. I grew up in a small area. There's always going to be them few people that want something that shouldn't be. They don't want growth. Good example of that, other than Otter Creek, because there's people there that don't want growth at all. They want it small, and so they can control it. But where I come from, there's a great big old government site there. They used to have Air Force out, not Air Force, but Navy out there, because there's water underground out there, and this area was great for testing, and they even built subs out in the middle of the desert. Yes, that's a true story. But the town that, or the county that most of the site sits in, it's in 3 counties, but probably over 90% of it is in Butte County, where I'm from. But the guys in Arco did not want a big expansion. They were mostly a ranching and farming community, so they did everything possible not to let it grow very much and had the people drive a little farther. There is people that live out there that worked at the site and still do, but there isn't nothing like it could have been out there. I lived where everybody was stationed at home-wise, that is. And, you know, getting back to Otter Creek, and like I was saying before, it's small towns do this a lot of cases. You have people that are related on the either county commissioner or city council. That does happen. The thing is, most people look at it and try to avoid it if there's a conflict of interest. When you have a small town of 100 or less, and a lot of them are older people, they don't want to be bothered. They just want to live. They want to do their thing. And it's not their fault. Not a bit their fault. There's such great people there. At least it seems to me like. That's like if my sister lives in Hastings. If ever I went there, I would definitely make a trip to Otter Creek. But when you get a few people running the whole town, I mean, it sounds to me like this Russ guy's going behind because of different businesses and trying to make it hard on the current mayor, well, assistant mayor virtually, because they don't have a mayor right now, and making it hard on him. All for greed. And I know there's people out there that really roots for this Russell guy and this Don guy. And these two are miserable. Listen to them talk. Listen to them what they do. Two things they seem to be good at is they just want things for themselves, and they're just miserable. You listen to them talk, and if they're not, that's how they come across. Okay, and there can be a difference there. They might be good people, but when they talk, they're just so miserable and so obnoxious, and they're for themselves, not for the city, like our town, like they say they are, but they're not. That's why they are under siege, because of a few people. You got a guy that 2 weeks ago about died that's elected to the town council. 2 weeks, and he was there to be sworn in, which there was only one person left, or showed up on the council, so he couldn't get in. That's dedication. Somebody to go through that and walk into that building ready to take his seat and to help the people of Otter Creek. Thank you. And, you know, Jeremy, with his money, and don't get me wrong, like I said, I know he's not the richest man in the world. He's got the money to go out and fight. And sometimes that's what it takes, is somebody with money to fight. If you don't have the money, it's kind of hard to fight. And some of these people in that town, which is lower income, they ain't going to have the money to fight. And some of these people out there in that town know it. So what do? They try to control what, where, and everything around it. I don't blame the mayor for resigning. I could see why. But you got younger people stepping up. At least it seems that way, and that is good. They're going to have to keep Don in check for the next 2 years, which hopefully it happens. Although he is kind of a funny guy with some of his arguments. He may be serious, but they don't come out that way. But people need to look at Jeremy just for an example, because he can fight. He's willing to fight. Yes, some of it is for himself, but he's also fighting for the town, fighting for the people. It, it's just, he deserves credit for that. Okay, there's another guy who don't live right in town, and I know him and Jeremy butts heads all the time. But at some point, wrong will stand out. The people in the right, whether you like them or not, need to stand up and fight together. Be willing to go that extra step to do what is right. And right now, it's not being done what is right. I mean, Jeremy, I ain't going to give his last name or anything, that's his business. But Jeremy has gone out, did things for that town, and if it wasn't for him, this stuff would have went by the wayside and keep going on. And that's what a problem is with a lot of these little places. They do that, exactly that. And because somebody out there showing what it's like, what people are like sometimes, and like I said, it's only a handful of people. Them people seem really, really nice there. But that handful of people can cause lots of problems, and with him exposing them to other places, because they can see what's going on, they can evaluate it with their own towns, and a lot of them's going to go, wait a minute, some of this is exactly what's happening here. We need to fight. And there's a fight on for a little girl there, or people in town ain't fighting, but they're pushing for relatives to go in and do everything they can to help this little girl out. That is a plus. That is a town willing to stand up. Yeah, there's a couple of them that Jeremy's got a protection order against. These people are always out hollering illegal. Everybody's doing stuff illegal. The one even put a complaint against the mayor doing illegal stuff. And you know what's ironic? Them two are constantly doing illegal stuff. And even go back and look in their court documents, they are tattling on themselves, and they don't even realize it. They're getting other people to go out and post for them and not realize people know what they're doing. These are a couple others that are there trying to keep this town under siege. And you know what's funny? Might not be that extent, but I've known people where I grew up at would do about the same thing if they had a half a chance. The only difference where I grew up, most of the people stood together. Whether they liked each other or not, they would be willing to stand up for each other. But it don't matter, you always have them. And that many little people can hold a town under siege. They can lie, they can manipulate. The only difference is now you have more resources to get it out than you had when I was a kid. Even several years ago, the resources wasn't as good. I know people in the town complain about certain people, but that's all well and fine. Nobody's going to like each other all the time. But when they can stand up for wrong and let the whole world and the whole town know who's at fault behind some of this, that is good. And it's just not going out and saying it. It's going out with proof to prove it, which has happened. And thank God there's people in that little town that will stand up and is standing up, because they've been beat down so much for a town that I'm just in love with that area. I'll never live there, but I think I, I'm in love with it. The way it looks. Yeah, we don't have alligators around here. Got snakes, not in town, but we got snakes around, skunks. But them guys do such a great job. They have a great looking community, and the way to improve it is get younger people on that board and fight and get things done the way it should be. Put the egos aside, and I think a couple of them people that were on the board, their egos took over. They want even as simple as the water. They can control the water. They control people. They found out one person they couldn't control by that. And kind of regrets it, I think, now. And ethics is going to show this guy, which is one of the handful of people, it's not going to be good. Even if they don't prosecute, it'll come out the bad things this guy has done. I cannot see, of course I don't live there, and this isn't, this is just my opinion because I don't live there. Seems like this guy, being mayor and vice mayor, has held people back and did things behind their back, had no bookkeeping system at all in there, but he made sure the people was in that office that he wanted that would do nothing. He did not want somebody to know what was going on. He wanted somebody that was oblivious, and he had it. That's nothing against the person in there or was in there, because the person they got now knows what the hell she's doing. And everybody knows Russ don't like that at all. Matter of fact, he was trying to figure out a way to get her out if he could get back in as mayor. Because, a smart person in office, or in that, well, she's not elected, but in that office, and you want to control, that smart person will know what's going on. A person you can control will not. And, he wanted somebody he can control. But with all this stuff coming out for Otter Creek, is all positive. It ain't going to happen overnight. It might be a year or two more. But they'll get there, and they'll get done what is supposed to be needed. But always remember, just because you don't live there or close to there, doesn't mean some of the same things happening there are not happening other places. Just keep your eyes open and do your best. Remember, always remember, the good will always outdo evil, even if you have to fight and fight for it. God knows that they deserve good there. And hopefully, when all this comes out, people will see the bad things happen in Otter Creek in Levy County, and things need to change and get better. And hopefully they will. And hope these other towns having similar situations stand up and fight, and they get better. And it won't get better unless people stand up. Thank you for listening. I appreciate it.